Surprise! It's a two-parter.
Called it.
Yeah.
What would I get?
I guess that's what happens when you have 23 pages of notes and you're trying to tackle a subject as broad as horror and music.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in full disclosure, we stopped recording last night at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Not realizing that we've been recording for about 2 hours. There is going to be some cuts because we did take a short break at one point. But yeah, so we're back.
Hi.
And it has been the next day. I just got home from work and we just ate. And we're going to be talking more about spooky music. So in the last episode, we left off... I actually think we left off the perfect place.
Yeah, it was a good natural stopping point.
Yeah, because not only did we just get done talking about horrorcore, that's kind of like the last like real horror genre. Any other genre doesn't have horror in the name. And the only other one that we have to talk about that has anything similar is called terrorcore, which I don't think is like really spooky music, to be honest.
Okay.
It samples horror movies. So what terrorcore is, it's a subgenre of like hardcore EDM, primarily speedcore, which, yeah, so if you think of any kind of like hardcore EDM song with like the dun 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 dun, like that's hardcore, and then speedcore takes that and like I think it's like an extra 100+ beats per minute, so you're looking at like da, 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 like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And then terrorcore takes that, adds a bit of like spooky elements to it, and samples a lot of horror movies.
Okay, that actually sounds like something I might like.
I used to listen to it quite a lot. Not so much anymore. My taste has kind of changed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you might like it though.
I might.
But yeah.
I don't think it would be like, oh, this is so sick, but I'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think I've showed you some of it.
Okay.
I showed you a little bit of it. But yeah.
For the episode or just in general?
Just in general.
Okay, I was going to say, I don't remember you showing me anything EDM.
No. This music is, like I said, it's a bit less horror in the way of like setting an atmosphere. Yeah.
Atmosphere.
An atmosphere. But it rather goes for like the brutality side of horror. It's like the extreme metal genre of EDM.
The name terrorcore makes sense with that, yeah.
Yeah. You got relentless 808 kicks, harsh synths, and horror samples, and those are like the main defining, contents of horrorcore with at least 250 BPM or higher.
Yeah.
And to give a example of like how fast that is, your typical like pop songs are generally around like 120-ish. And on the faster side of like rap or like drum and bass and stuff, you have around 180 beats per minute. And that's also where hardcore sits. So you have an extra like 100+ beats per minute.
Oh, okay, so this is like really fast paced.
Yeah, this is like really, really fast.
Okay.
Because it's EDM, finding albums, like there's not a whole lot of like albums with EDM, I find. But we do have some notable members of the genre. We got Noise Kick, Drokes, Screamer Claws, Akira, The Destroyer, and then my favorite is Delta 9, who's a little bit more along the side of Gabber, but he plays around with terrorcore quite a bit.
Gabber's the one that's like crazy fast, right?
Yeah, and terrorcore is faster.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
Then Gabber?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Is Akira, that's a band name? Or like
Yeah,
it's
an
artist name?
It's an artist, yeah.
Okay. It just makes me think of the anime.
Oh, which anime?
It's a very famous, like, classic anime, Akira.
Oh, okay, I never heard of it.
I've never... Well, I guess actually I did watch it, and it was okay.
Out of, like, I didn't really, like I said, at this point, I didn't listen to any more genres just because, one, most of this music I already knew, and two, I had already done so much for this episode.
Yeah, so much, baby.
And it's already 2 parts. But I do know terrorcore. I used to listen to it. I had like an EDM phase at one point, and this is the stuff that I kind of gravitated towards. But when I listened to it, I was very lazy, and I really just like threw it on like Pandora or like threw on like, you know, the hour-long mixes on like YouTube, and I didn't really listen to like a genre or like an artist or anything.
That's 90% of how I listen to all my music.
But yeah, for this one, I would give it at least like a 3 out of 10 for spookiness, and I give it like a 5.5 out of 10 for listen. I do like it. My taste has evolved a little bit more. I tend to like more atmospheric music lately, so
yeah, that's fair.
But I still enjoy it, and I do think it is somewhat relevant to this podcast.
Oh yeah, I think I would have enjoyed terrorcore a lot more when I was like in high school.
Yeah. The next genre is dark ambient, and there's not much to say about this other than it's basically horror movie music without being labeled film score. This is like all sound design. It's like swells and like just atmosphere, like
but it's not meant to be in a movie. It's its own. It's just its own song.
Yeah, it's its own genre. There's actual albums of this stuff.
Okay.
It's very cool.
That sounds sick, actually.
It's not music to listen to, like, actively.
Uh-huh.
It's stuff to, like, set an atmosphere. And it did set an atmosphere on one specific day that I'm going to talk about for one of these artists.
Okay.
Actually, the creator of dark ambient, whose name is Lustmord.
Lustmord?
Yes.
That's an awesome
This is how
name.
it's spelled right here. Lustmord.
Wow.
But I have a fun fact about him.
Okay.
So on June 6th of 2006, that is 06.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
The Satanic Church held what they called the Satanic High Mass ritual, celebrating 40 years of the Church of Satan. Over 100 members of the church gathered at the Center for Inquiry's West Steve Allen Theater in Los Angeles.
Oh, that's a mouthful.
That's a mouthful. They performed the 3 main rituals written by Anton LaVey in his Satanic Bible, and then ended it with what they called a condemnation of fanatical theism.
That was also a mouthful.
They're atheists, which is why that's funny.
I was just gonna say, are these LaVeyan Satanists? I'm assuming?
Yes, these are LaVeyan Satanists.
Okay.
During this high mass, which you can actually watch on YouTube, you can just type in the Satanic High Mass ritual. It's like 40-ish minutes, like 45 or something. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting. But Lustmord was there performing live.
Oh, wow.
And you can hear his music in the video. It's not the best quality, obviously, 2006.
Yeah.
But it is a pretty interesting video.
I bet.
Yeah, they're all like, the Satanic Church is like atheistic, but in the Satanic Bible, Anton LaVey, he writes down 3 like satanic rituals. Despite being atheistic, he does seem to believe in some kind of something that these rituals like provide, even if it is maybe like a placebo type effect. So he has the ritual for, oh my god, I'm blanking on what it is now. It's been so long since I read the Satanic Bible. There's ritual for compassion, ritual for lust, and ritual for destruction, which was basically just curse. And yeah, they have like different people coming out and performing each ritual, and then like another guy comes out at the end and does like essentially like the Lord's Prayer, but like the satanic version of it.
Okay.
And they had like a huge crowd of like just a bunch of members of the Church of Satan.
Just chilling?
Yeah, just chilling and
probably
and
in
watching.
Cloaks, I'm assuming?
No.
Really?
They described it as everyone showing up in their own colorful like attire, pretty much.
Oh, I bet there were some awesome outfits there.
Probably. But Lustmord also scored a 2020 supernatural horror movie called The Empty Man, with the help of another dark ambient producer named Christopher Young. I've never seen it or heard of it, but it has a 6.2 on IMDb and a 76% on Rotten Tomatoes, so need I say more?
Okay.
The man literally scored a horror movie with this interesting genre that he created himself pretty much, just with like being really good at sound design. Because that's pretty much what all this is sound design.
Wow.
And it does create like a great atmosphere.
Oh, I bet.
As much as I wanted to listen to an album for this, they tend to be very long. And while, I do like this genre, it's not really like an active listening genre. This is something to turn on to like set an atmosphere and set a tone and like a mood. I would give it like an 8 out of 10 on spookiness because there is some great stuff here. He is a great like just sound design artist in general.
Yeah.
He's really good.
And I think like sonically the best way to be spooky would be to have that atmospheric genre.
Exactly.
To give you that feeling. Because just talking about spooky stuff isn't scary. Usually.
Yeah.
Depending on, in a song especially.
Yeah. I definitely agree to that. I think it can be. But
yeah, I think it's more difficult.
Yeah, it's definitely more difficult. I think like you would have to also maybe be like potentially like playing a character too, like using a voice or something, which is something like when I talked about in the last episode. One of my favorite horrorcore songs called Pinocchio by Tech Nine. Like he raps in a different voice, and it is kind of a manic sounding character.
Okay, yeah.
So that. But yeah, for real though, like if you're trying to like set a spooky atmosphere, I think just this kind of stuff where it's just like sound design and like just swells and dark synths and whatever, like that's what's gonna really like set the tone.
Oh yeah.
So some other favorite genres, I took to the interwebs to see what other people think are good horror genres. And I found way more than I was expecting. I just kind of picked a bunch of ones that I enjoy to talk about to give a few recommendations because I was getting scared. At this point, I'm at 18 pages in my notes, so I was like, okay, this might be the time to slow down. But I do have a few that I want to talk about a little bit more in depth because I do really enjoy them, and I think they would make for great horror music. Metal in general... I see metal being talked about a lot for horror music, and I kind of get it. A lot of people talk about, like, the extreme genres of metal, like slam and brutal death metal and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, especially lyrically, a lot of them, like Cannibal Corpse, I'm pretty sure I read somewhere where, like, they literally just watch a bunch of horror movies and then write what they see. And then especially, like, exploitation movies, like where Cannibal Holocaust would come from.
Yeah.
And that, like, so yes, there is a horror connection there.
Well, and I think part of it too is that just the existence of metal music in general is horror to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Especially after like the Satanic Panic and like metal music was so, connected to their idea of Satan and corrupting the children and all that kind of shit.
Oh,
so,
for
like,
sure.
I don't know. I feel like metal just has that reputation already anyway.
Yeah, I do think that today it's not so much.
No, it's not as widespread, but that is still like prevalent in a lot of communities.
Yeah, and I think there is still a group of people that when they find out these extreme genres of metal like slam and stuff with band names like Dying Fetus and Infant Annihilator and Raped by Elephants and stuff, like that's gonna turn some heads.
Oh yeah.
But,
even me, I'd be like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. But I do think that there are better metal genres for specifically horror, and I got a couple to talk about. And the first one is one that I love both, like, most of these genres I'm going to talk about. But the first one is called Funeral Doom Metal.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way to describe Funeral Doom Metal is slow, heavy, and desolate.
So literally doom metal if it was to be played at a funeral.
Yeah, so
pretty
like...
much.
So I am a fan of like funeral doom metal. I'm not a big fan of regular doom metal because that's when you get like Black Sabbath and stuff like that, and I'm not the biggest fan of that sound.
Okay.
But funeral doom metal, that's what you think of when you hear doom metal.
Oh, because
is what
that's what
I've
you
played.
listen to. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So funeral doom metal is like death metal being played at like 35 to 40 BPM.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. It's super slow. They just play extremely heavy, slow riffs. There's jokes about, there's time for a drummer to like have a vacation in between snare hits because there's so much like time in between the hits.
Yeah.
The vocals, I used to be able to do like doom metal funeral doom metal vocal growls.
Really? That like really deep guttural growl?
Yeah, I used to be able to do that. I don't know if I still can. But yeah, it's just like deep guttural growls done again really slow. The songs can be like 9+ minutes long, and like, yeah, just super slow riffs. It's so much atmosphere. And I honestly think this is the type of stuff that could also make for a great, like horror setting. Like I could hear this with like Silent Hill shots in the background or something. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like shots of Silent Hill with all the, or what I was thinking too is if someone made Fallout, but did it serious as a horror game.
That'd be sick. For one.
This is the type of music I can hear, like, soundtracking that. Because funeral doom metal, like, all the aesthetics for it and, like, the album covers and everything is just, like, desolation. Like just wastelands and, like, dark corridors that look, like, everything seems, like, just feels abandoned and, like, destroyed. That's kind of the vibe you get from funeral doom metal.
Funeral doom metal makes you feel like you're standing on a battlefield after the battle has happened, just looking at all the desolation.
Yeah, that is exactly the vibe, and I love it.
Yeah.
And I know you're not the biggest fan of it because you don't like slow music, but I freaking love this shit.
No, I like, it's so close to stuff I love, but I just, I don't know, something about it.
No, I get it. It's a hard one to get into.
It is.
Some bands that I love from this genre, Frowning, Worship, and Remembrance. Those are 3 that I love. Remembrance has like actually some clean singing at some parts, which like just kind of gives their songs like a bit more of a dynamic to it.
Didn't you show me one of their songs and then I was like completely dumbfounded when I heard clean singing?
No, that's for the next, that's for another genre that we're going to talk about.
Okay. Sorry, jumping the gun.
No, you're good. But yeah, I love this stuff, and I think it would make for great, like, horror music.
I actually could see it being implemented very well in a horror theme.
Yes.
Like in like some kind of horror themed media.
Oh yeah, for sure. I give it an 8 out of 10 on spookiness and listen. I love this stuff. We then get atmospheric black metal. I think black metal by itself can qualify here. Just in general, anything black metal I think can qualify. But atmospheric black metal, and then there's another one after this that I think these are the 2 biggest ones. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's black metal slowed down. It's made a little bit more melodic. And vocals that generally sound like recorded in like a fucking cave or something.
Yeah.
Like it's like a lot of reverb and stuff. It has like that classic black metal, like high pitched cult scream as it's called. But I actually do like some of this stuff as well. I'm not super read up on this genre, but one of my favorite bands from when I was younger is considered atmospheric black metal. And I believe the way you pronounce it is Agalic, I think.
I would say Agalach.
It might be Agalach.
But I have I don't know.
But they are a great band. I would highly recommend their album Pale Folklore and their 3-part song She Painted Fire Across the Skyline.
That's a sick name.
It's a great like 3-part song. I think it's like one part is like 7 minutes, one part's around 3 minutes, and then one part's around 10 minutes.
Is that separated into 3 separate tracks? Yes. But it's this like continuations of the same song?
Exactly.
Interesting.
And they all work like as their own song too. Like, you can listen to it as their own song, but if you listen to them all 3 together...
There is like a through line.
Yes, it's a continuation.
Interesting.
And it's like a bit of a story as well.
Huh, that's kind of a cool idea, though.
It's great.
Wow.
This band is awesome, And I think that I might be looking more into this genre in general. I think it is really cool. I would consider it a 5 out of 10 for spookiness, and I'll give it a 6.5 or 7 out of 10 for listen. I think it can be hit or miss. I'm a bit picky when it comes to black metal, but when it hits, it really hits.
Okay.
That's kind of how I feel about it. The next genre, and yes, this is the name of the genre, is called Depressive Suicidal Black Metal. Yes, that's the name. And yes, it's probably what you think it is. And yes, I actually do kind of love this genre too. I found this genre a while ago, during a time in my life where that genre name felt very fitting. So it kind of just hit a very specific nerve. And even though I'm not in that mindset anymore, I still do enjoy the music.
There is something cathartic about listening to music that's about something that you've come through.
Yeah, exactly. And then also listening to it when you are in that space can also in some ways be a little comforting, because it's almost like, oh, I'm not alone in feeling like this.
Yeah.
This is a very interesting genre where, again, like atmospheric black metal, they take black metal and then they slow it down and they add these melodies, which are often very, very simple and almost pretty. And when it's combined with the noise and the fuzz of the guitars, and then also the very harsh vocals that this genre also has, there's just something really, just cathartic about it.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's very interesting because some of these songs, the vocals sound like screams of tortured souls. And I'm not even...
that's this one? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not even joking. And points where you're are they even saying words or are they just screaming? And that's kind of how it sounds. But yeah, there is something awesome about it. Again, I'm kind of picky about it. I don't like all of it, but when it hits, it really hits. There is a DSBM song, which is what I'm going to call it for short, and also for the sake of being kind on YouTube and not using the S word, because I know some people have an issue with it. Yeah. But there is a DSBM song that is in my top 15 favorite songs of all time, I think.
Really?
And it is the one that I showed you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So there is a song called This Dreadful Emptiness. It's by a band that I believe the way to pronounce the name is Austere. It's 9 minutes long, and it kind of goes through 3 stages of grief. It starts off with pain, and then it goes to anger, and then acceptance. This is the one that has the clean singing in it that you were very shocked. Okay. And that's where I say we get acceptance. And in the part between pain and acceptance, there's a synth melody that starts. It's super simple, but it's also extremely catchy. It gets stuck in my head all the time, and combined with all the other stuff going on, there's just something about it that just it's so good. Just I don't know, I love it. Every time I hear it, I just can't help but as soon as that synth starts, I'm vibing along, I'm nodding my head to the music, and I don't know. I absolutely love this song. I would not recommend it to just anyone. You have to be okay with kind of rough vocals.
This is the one that when you showed me, my mouth was agape for basically the entire playthrough, right?
Yeah, and I don't even think I played the whole thing because, I said, it's 9 minutes long.
Yeah. You kind of skipped through a few parts and showed me, and I was flabbergasted that it existed.
Yeah. This is actually, I think, one of the most popular DSBM songs that I know of that I could find.
Okay.
The lyric video for This Dreadful Emptiness has almost 800,000 views.
Damn.
And most other DSBM songs are maybe sitting in tens of thousands or something like that. But this is this one's really popular, and a lot of people really love it. the band isn't even on Spotify, and I'm so sad about that. So anytime I want to listen to them, I have to use YouTube.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. But the genre as a whole, I think, is like really, really eerie at certain points. Cause like I'm thinking of especially certain songs like there's a song called Suicide of My Mind. I think the artist's name is Atraxis. And like that song is like 12 minutes long. And like the first 3 minutes are an intro with just like super simple guitar melodies that are like kind of quiet. And then there's also this like background noise where it sounds like waves and stuff. It's very like atmospheric. And like, yeah, it's like 3 minutes of like just super simple, quiet guitar melodies until it like breaks out. And then like you have more of this rough screaming style of like vocals. And yeah, it just, I don't know. There's something about it. I love it. And I think it would make for really good horror music.
Yeah, I can see that.
Especially like I said, some of the ones where like the vocals sound like screams of the damned or something. Like I'm thinking
literally. Yeah,
and I like if you want a good example of that, of like what I'm talking about, look up Cheerful Depression, Sleep Forever. It's like 4 minutes long. You don't even have to get through all of it, but once you hear the vocals, you're like, are those vocals? I don't know.
It's not even like they're not even like heavy metal screaming. It's not like a fucking it's literally screaming.
Yeah, it is kind of black metal style, but like it's someone who does black metal but is literally going through like a mental breakdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's something awesome about it. There's something cathartic about it. Something I like. I don't know.
Okay. I'm happy you're happy.
I give it a 6 out of 10 for spookiness. It's not like super horror, but there are some spookiness to it, and an 8 out of 10 for listen.
It's less horror and more just like, oof. It's the depths of your soul type shit.
Yeah, it's the type of horror where like it's more about emotions than it is about like fear.
Yeah.
And like and you know, I appreciate that. I'm definitely someone like emotions can go a long way for me when it comes to art, especially like music.
Oh, I think that's one of the main draws of art.
Yeah.
For sure.
So then that's it for metal, and we have a couple other ones. Dark Trap is one of my favorites.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That's the type of music that I make, and this is also where I think horrorcore needs to go. I think if you get someone that does horrorcore lyrics with dark trap production, I think you can have something there.
Dude.
I think you could actually have something there.
You sure would.
So dark trap has an emphasis. Oh my god, I can't speak.
It's okay.
I've been talking all day at work.
Yeah, fair.
It has an emphasis on spooky melodies and really hard-hitting 808s. And in some cases, these 808s are distorted to the point where it sounds like they're literal, like, growls themselves. And that, I think, is, like, a big factor for, like, having this kind of spooky feeling with the music. It's obviously a subgenre of trap music with an emphasis on dark vibes and atmosphere. And lyrical content, it's kind of similar to just your regular, like, trap or just rap lyrics with, you know, topics of drugs and violence and like all that kind of stuff, but dark trap artists do kind of flip it into a slightly more horror way, and in some cases like even like just a heavier tone in general.
Yeah.
A good example of this is the song Necrotic Grip by Do Not Resurrect, where in the hook of the song he literally says, "I'll eat your heart like it's bath salts."
Yeah.
Like that's definitely something, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that shit hits different. Or like when, like, rap talks about shooting people in the head all the time, but when it's like, what is the line? Like, shoot a motherfucker, take his thoughts or something like that?
Witch House 40K in the song Hobgoblin, I think, says, "One fucking bullet, take away his thoughts."
That shit's just, oh my god, yeah, you do. Like, it just brings this whole dimension to killing somebody that most, trap doesn't have.
Yeah.
Like, most trap is very cold, but, like, dark trap really gets into that fucking emotional cranny of certain things that are talked about all the time, but in just this unique way.
I think part of it is because it's a little less focused on, like, lyrical, like, abilities, you know, when you get like certain rap, like certain types of rap where they're trying to have a very specific flow and they're trying to like keep a flow going.
Yeah.
Dark trap will like be okay with breaking that up a little bit and just using less words to say what they need to say. And sometimes that does mean like just saying exactly what you mean in like the most direct way possible.
Yeah.
And like then just taking it to like the extreme. Like you said, people talk about shooting someone all the time. Like Esham in the Horrorcore album I talked about, that I'd listened to and talked about, he talked about killing people throughout that whole album pretty much. But he's never said something like, you know, one bullet take away his thoughts.
Yeah. That just emotionally hits different. Or the fucking, that crazy, like, bleh, and right after just fucking spit on your consciousness.
Oh, yeah.
Like, spit on your consciousness.
Yeah.
Not your political leaning, not like what you're doing in this moment. Your very consciousness, like, bruh. Oh my god.
Yeah. This is just my favorite genre, I think, in general. Has some of my favorite artists in it. And like I said, I think it could be the answer to actually having like a horrorcore revival. I think if you were like, if someone like Ghostmane were to start writing horrorcore, I think he could like, with his production style, it could bring back like it could have like we could have a horrorcore resurgence.
And it could be so good.
And I think it could be really good. I think the two can complement each other great. My favorite artists in this genre, also real quick, you talked about the bleh, like ad lib. That comes from metal.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
There is like metal influence in this.
Oh yeah.
And like trap metal in general is another kind of like genre that you can talk about with this, because like I said Ghostmane, who's kind of like a little bit trap metal leaning as well. But I think like both, you know, you talk about them kind of at the same time.
Yeah, they're very interconnected.
And yeah, there is a lot of like metal influence in there, even like death metal influence.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So my favorite artists from this genre, we have Ghostmane, Witch House 40K, which I think is just my favorite artist of all time right now.
He's so fucking good.
Absolutely love him. He doesn't really have albums. He's more of like a singles artist.
Yeah.
But like some songs that I would check out. Trip on a Spiderweb is a bit more trap metal. It's a little less spooky, but it's hard as hell, and it's one of my favorites.
It goes so hard. It's so good.
Gravedigger is a great spooky trap beat with him rapping really fast about, you know, just killing people. It's kind of what he does. But yeah, also like Hobgoblin, that's where you get the one bullet take away his thoughts line.
Yep.
Yeah, just all great songs. And then if you do want something a bit more like spooky and almost old school sounding, Hollow Bones has a great like dark boom bap type beat, and it's a very great like little atmospheric song.
I don't know if I know that one actually.
You've definitely heard it. I think I showed you the music video with it too.
Oh, okay. I just might not have listened to it on my own.
We also have Bleed the Wicked Menace, who does a lot of like satanic imagery and occult imagery. He even has like an album called The Occult Series. I think he has 2 of them. And
I've only ever heard you listen to him, but he's really good too.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's very similar to like almost Ghostmane meets Suicide Boys.
Wow,
with like a very like a touch of satanic imagery.
Yeah.
We also have Warlord Colossus, who's a little bit more trap metal, but I love his like he just has crazy deliveries. He has like a crazy voice that he plays with all the time and does all kinds of crazy like flows and styles, vocal deliveries in general.
He's the guy he's the guy that I thought was Corpse at first, right?
No. You're thinking of Do Not Resurrect, which is the next person I was going to talk about.
Oh, shit, okay.
Yeah, he has like a super deep, like raspy voice and uses it really well. He has very dark production that sometimes can be very sparse and sometimes can be like almost overwhelming with like some of the 808 hits and stuff. Like, I love his stuff as well. He also is like just a great writer, and like he's the one that has the line about eating your heart like it's bath salts.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I would give the spookiness kind of depends on the artist. Anywhere between a 5 to a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
But the listen, I'll give 9 or a 10 out of 10. It's like some of my favorite music. It's the music I make. I'm heavily inspired by it. I love it. We
listen to slightly different artists, but like I would say dark trap and like trap metal are our bread and butter right now.
Yeah, especially for me. I mean, I make the shit.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Witch House is a genre I'm very happy I get to talk about.
Oh, it's hell yeah.
I don't listen to it as much as I feel like I should. I do have a little bit of Witch House influence. I have a beat channel called Freaky Beats. I'm actually going to link it in the description. I usually don't link that channel, but I'll link it for this one just because we're talking about music. But I have one of my like first few beats I made is called Ritual Room, and it has a lot of Witch House influence in it.
Oh yeah.
Witch House is a dark mix of synthwave, hip hop and trap, and even like shoegaze influence in there as well. A lot of gothic and occult aesthetics with a very heavy dose of reverb on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It just is it's a great genre that just has a lot of atmosphere with like just so much going on but it also doesn't feel like there's a ton going on.
Yeah.
There's so much like melody and synth in there and like bass. It's just like it's so thick and dense.
Yeah, it's chill, but it's somehow like very dense atmosphere. It's so good.
Yeah, it's popularized by artists like Salem. It has little to do with house music, despite it being called Witch House, which is very funny.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah, it's because like you think of house music, you think of like a 4 on the floor, like dun dun dun.
Yeah,
and like you know, it's usually like happier or like at the very least like relaxing and stuff. But Witch House, like I said, it takes a lot more from like trap and hip hop and like synthwave and stuff.
Yeah, huh? Yeah,
I don't know how Witch House became the name of the genre.
I never even considered that.
They have like I said, trap styled beats with heavy synth chords and bass. Yeah, it creates a heavy atmosphere. It just would not be out of place in a horror movie. If there is any vocals, sometimes it is instrumental. But the vocals are usually heavily processed. They have a lot of reverb and they almost sound ghostly.
Yeah, they're more like background texture.
Yeah. Witch House is like really big on like if you want something to sound like it's just occultism and like supernaturalism and stuff like that's where Witch House comes in.
It's almost so spiritual that it almost feels cosmic sometimes.
Yeah. My favorite artist in this is Sidewalks and Skeletons. I highly recommend their album White Light.
They're good.
It's really just like you can hear all the influences and like it is just so atmospheric. It's great. The song, oh god, I think there is the title track called White Light has like, I don't know if it's a sample from a movie or something, but in the beginning there's like a what sounds like a sample of a movie where two characters are talking about if you've ever felt like you've died and came back to life, and they talked about a drug that makes you feel exactly like that, and one character asks the other if they want to try some, and they're like, oh, I don't know. And then the character is like, what's wrong? Are you afraid of a little danger? And then like everything comes in, the synths come in, there's like a vocal sample that like is like full of reverb, and like the beat drops in, and even like the drums have reverb on them. Like there's just so much atmosphere. I love it so much.
Hell yeah.
I would give it a 6.5 out of 10 for spookiness and an 8.5 out of 10 for listen. I love Witch House so much.
It's very good. It's a very good genre.
Yeah. If you like atmospheric, like dark hip hop inspired stuff, check out Witch House.
It's almost lo-fi adjacent in that you hear it and you think, oh, I could put this on in the background, but it grabs your attention so well.
It does. And at this point, I was at 22 pages and I was scared of running out of time, and then I didn't realize we were just going to make it a 2-part episode. But we have a couple of other genres we can talk about a little bit, and then if you have any that you can think of, and then we can just talk a little bit at the about music in general and spookiness. So here's a couple of genres that we can talk about.
Sounds like a plan, Stan.
So this is another punk genre we have called Murder Folk.
That sounds like a command.
It does, doesn't it? It is folk punk music, which is kind of like bluegrass and punk mixed together. Except it is all about occultism and murderers and shit like that.
I don't know how I feel about that combination of sounds with that subject matter. That sounds weird.
Well, you've heard folk punk. You've heard me listen to folk punk.
That's true. And I have a friend that like is in a folk punk band.
That's true. So the Assault Shakers.
Yeah. Yes. I'm fairly familiar.
Yeah. So just imagine that, but it's all like dark shit and talks about like serial killers and stuff like that.
Okay. Now that you've given me that kind of framework, yeah, I can like hear almost exactly what that would sound like in my head.
Yeah, and like we also have like topics of like abuse, depression, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, they also do have songs about serial killers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And not in a light where it's like looking at them and being like, oh, look at these like awesome people or something.
Mm-hmm.
When they talk about serial killers, it's either like from their perspective, and it's like a look on like society and how we deal with stuff like mental illness and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's just like name and shame, basically.
Oh,
like
that's
they're
awesome.
like making fun of them or something like that. Like they just roast them.
That's great.
I don't know a ton about this genre. I'm not super big into it. But I do know that there are definitely some like folk, like murder folk like bands, like a lot of them, and yeah, you can easily find them if you just search up murder folk on like Spotify.
Oh, I'm sure.
Nu metal has also been like talked about in some of these lists, and I think it's an interesting pick.
Yeah.
Because you and me, like, we grew up on nu metal. Like,
Yeah.
You like System of a Down. That's one of your favorite bands, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. System of a Down, Slipknot.
Yeah. And that's where I think they get the horror stuff, is with bands like Slipknot.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, my thing is, when you talk about nu metal, there's so much, like, nu metal almost means nothing anymore.
Yeah.
Because you could be talking about Limp Bizkit. There's nothing scary about Limp Bizkit.
I beg to differ.
What do you mean? There's nothing scary about Limp Bizkit.
He's not intimidating, I'll give you that.
No.
Not at all.
No.
Quite the opposite. He is a Limp Bizkit.
He just wants to exist on Instagram and post pictures of station wagons. That's all he wants to do.
All right, wait, is that what he's doing now?
Yeah.
That's kind of awesome.
Or at least that's the last I heard. Because, like, Fred Durst made like a post or something on Twitter to Donald Trump that was like essentially trying to like appease to Trump's like better angels, as if he had any.
Yeah,
like he
really.
came at Trump at a way that seemed to like, trying to like be like a voice of reason, rather than like trying to like, rather than just like roasting him or something. And then people came at him for that. So he just deleted everything and just post pictures of station wagons.
That's awesome. I appreciate the attempt to try to get any kind of empathic feelings from Trump, but I definitely I feel like that's like tantamount to trying to get empathetic feelings from a sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, oranges in this case.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, like, there's nothing spooky about, like, Limp Bizkit. I would also say Linkin Park. Maybe, like, in that first album, especially with, like, One Step Closer, that music video has some, like, spooky, like, visuals in it. But I think when we're talking about nu metal and, like, horror music, we're talking about stuff like Slipknot, who literally has a music video where they, like, redo a lot of scenes from The Shining.
Oh yeah, Slipknot's very horror influenced. Very
much so. And also stuff like maybe like Mudvayne or like Mushroomhead, like these like nu metal bands where, they're wearing costumes and masks and like shit like that, rather than some like Limp Bizkit or like Linkin Park, which is where you have like the more poppier side of nu metal, I guess.
Yeah, bands like Mudvayne and Slipknot, they all look like all of the characters from what's that horror series where they have like, what are they, the Xenobites, and they're
Xenobites?
they're like Pleasure is Pain, and they're like all very BDSM themed.
Hellraiser.
They all look like a bunch of different Cenobites. That's what it is.
Yeah,
it looks like a
Pinhead and stuff.
Yeah. All those bands just look like a bunch of different like characters from Hellraiser got together in a band.
It kind of does. Yeah, it kind of does. I mean, like Slipknot literally has like an evil clown.
Yeah.
In their band.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want. Post-punk and goth, I think, can also be considered like kind of spooky. After punk died, the post-punk is where like goth came from. And so that's where we have bands like The Cure and Bauhaus and Susie and the Banshees, and they definitely have like a lot of horror imagery in their stuff as well. I think just there is a through line between goth stuff and horror stuff in general.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's just a through line between them, so I think that definitely counts. I've listened to some of it. There is some like Susie and the Banshee songs that I like. I've definitely heard some Bauhaus songs that I enjoy. The Cure has some good songs as well. It's not like my favorite music, but it is music that I do appreciate. I don't know, have you ever listened to any of that kind of stuff?
A little bit here and there, yeah. I'm not super familiar. I've always been more of like I've always been a metal fan at heart.
Yeah.
And like, I've gotten into like industrial and stuff.
That's a genre I don't have on here, but that definitely fits.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, you know, we get stuff like Ice Nine Kills is literally doing horror stuff.
Yeah,
like, they're making horror music videos and stuff.
Yeah, literally.
And they seem like awesome guys.
They do. They do.
Dead Meat has a interview with one of them.
What?
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
Dude, I didn't know that. That's fucking sick.
Yeah, they have an interview with one of them.
Oh,
I forget the dude's name, but yeah, they have an interview.
That's pretty
so cool.
Sweet. Damn.
Yeah, so like obviously industrial counts as horror stuff.
Yeah.
And like especially with Saw. Like that's where
true.
And when I think industrial horror, I think of like Saw or like Seven or something like that, like these like kind of murder mystery thriller type like movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like industrial fits, especially with like, you know, all the warehouse type imagery and stuff like that. Like the dark warehouses and shit.
For sure.
Like, yeah, just beautiful stuff for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Death rock is kind of a genre I don't know a ton about. It's tied to gothic music. But I do know a little bit about it, not like a ton. It's very similar to post-punk, but it's a bit more heavier and like a little more horror influenced.
Okay.
That's also like where you get a lot of like the crazy goth looks.
Oh,
like
really?
what I like to do sometimes. That's also where you get like, you know, like the big winged eyeliner that, you know, comes up to like here type shit and stuff like that.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of death rock.
Yeah. Early dubstep, I think, could count for horror. Like the early 90s stuff.
Really?
There is a song, it's, I think it's SCMP is the artist name. It's called Trust Nobody, or Trust No One of the two. And it samples The Thing.
Huh, that's cool.
Before the drop. The Thing, there's a Thing sample with, the main character making his little, like recording towards the end of the movie, you know, the famous like doomed character with a recording,
of course.
And yeah, he's just like he's doing his little thing. He's like, I don't know who to trust, or no, he says, no one trusts anybody more, and it kind of like echoes out, and there's like a little bit of silence, and then the beat kicks in. And early dubstep is not anything like what you think of when you hear dubstep, like today.
No.
Early dubstep is like a simple melody, a wobbly ass dark bass line, and like a slow, sinister beat usually.
Yeah.
That's what dubstep is. And that kind of stuff can be extremely atmospheric.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And like dub in general, like that kind of like genre of like wobbly bass music pretty much can work really well. You can literally go on YouTube, and if you type in like deep dubstep mix or something, a popular like series of these mixes is called like deep dub deep dubstep for dark alleys or something like that.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm like, that's perfect. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, that's great.
Just like that creepy ass, like that kind of like,
yeah.
It's so good.
It is really good. Do you, complete tangent that isn't horror at all, but how did dubstep, like the word dubstep, come to describe what modern brostep is?
Mainly Skrillex.
Oh, is he considered dubstep?
Well, when Skrillex first like came out, I think it was his label. I think he was on a label maybe, or like something like that, but he was categorized as dubstep.
Oh.
And then eventually
and then he blew up, so everybody was like, oh, this is dubstep.
Yeah, and then they eventually changed it to brostep.
Yeah.
Which I think is a dumb name, but
it is.
But yeah.
Because I don't hate brostep.
No, I don't hate it either.
It's just not dubstep.
Yeah, it's just not dubstep. And I like dubstep more.
Me
personally.
Too. Yeah.
Especially like artists like Scream. Scream is really, really good.
I don't think I know Scream.
Yeah, you do.
Do I?
Yeah. That's the like one of the artists, the main like dubstep artists I listen to.
Oh, okay, so I've heard.
Yeah, you've definitely heard.
Them? Okay.
Definitely. There's also a genre called ghost step, which is a bit more like bro step, but it is like darker, a little less heavy. Well, it's like, I don't know if less heavy is the right way to put it, but it's less chaotic.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a mix between early dubstep and like current bro step from what I've been able to hear from it. And it sounds really cool, and I kind of want to listen to more of it.
I was going to say, that sounds pretty interesting, actually.
Drone metal is another genre that I actually do know a bit more about, and I actually do kind of like. The band Sun, it's spelt kind of weird. I think it's like SUNN and then a 0 and 2 parentheses, if I remember correctly.
The fuck?
It's a really weird... They're the biggest like drone metal band of all time, which basically means that almost nobody's still heard of them.
I don't even know what drone metal is.
Drone metal is like funeral doom metal with less stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's all just guitars, maybe some drums sometimes, but it's pretty much all just like guitars.
So it really is just kind of like a guitar drone.
Yeah, it's guitar ambient metal music, basically.
Okay.
It's, again, another one of those things you put on in the background to, like, set an atmosphere. I think it does a really good job at that. The band Sun, especially, I've seen some, like, live footage of them. They tend to play in, like, cloaks, like, long cloaks and stuff, and they have, like, fog machines and, like, sets an atmosphere. It does set, like, a really dark, spooky atmosphere, and I think that kind of stuff is also, like... You could also hear this, like, scoring a horror movie, I think.
Yeah, I could see that totally.
I also think Neurofunk can also work here. Neurofunk's just kind of like a really dark version of drum and bass.
Yeah.
And they have a very specific aesthetic of, like, gas masks and jumpsuits and stuff like that. And
I've heard the music. I didn't know they had that aesthetic, though.
Yeah, like gas masks and shit like that.
That's
and
pretty
like,
sick.
Yeah, it is like that kind of like real horror, I guess you could say, of like it's just like people that are just that way, I guess you could. I don't know how to describe it really. Just like just gang stuff.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much.
More grounded.
Yeah, just more grounded type of like.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, the idea of, you know, like being robbed at gunpoint by someone with like a gas mask on or something.
Gotcha.
That kind of shit.
Finn was trying to give like 3 explanations because I was just having this face of like, I don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah.
I got you.
I was trying to like figure out how to get Kirrianna to understand.
Not always an easy task, but thank you.
But yeah, I think this stuff is also great. I made some at one point when I used to use that shitty phone app.
You did?
Thing. I made some Neurofunk.
Yeah.
And it's very cool.
Hey, you made some pretty banging beats on that thing.
I did.
Don't knock it so hard.
I also made at least one drill and bass song, which is very similar to Neurofunk, but it's very glitchy and just way more fucked up, I guess is the best way to put it. Peter Curtin is a serial killer, but also the name of a artist that makes this type of music that I like a lot.
Oh yeah.
He literally just has a song called Drill, and it is just, yeah, it's a drill and bass track, and it gives you a perfect explanation of the type of music of these glitchy, broken beats with, you know, very dark atmosphere and like heavy bass and shit like that. It's definitely like that kind of atmospheric, but also it also has the energy as well. It's that like good mix of a spooky atmosphere, but also having the high energy of like drum and bass.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all the genres that I have like written out. There's a bunch of other stuff too, but this is already a 2-part episode, and I don't even know how long we've been recording this one already. It's already been going on for an hour, and last episode is 2 hours, but I am going to be editing down a bunch of stuff. We took like a break at one point, but yeah.
Yeah.
Horror music. I got to nerd out about music for a while.
Yeah. If you couldn't tell, like I said before, most of my music listening happens by chance. I don't. If I seek something out, it's because I know it pretty well, usually.
Yeah.
Like, lately I've been getting into, like, some newer, just, like, metal bands and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll seek those artists out, and usually I listen on, like, YouTube and Pandora and stuff. I'm a very lazy music listener.
I can be as well, but there are, like, when I get into some, like, an artist or a genre, I really do get into it. And essentially what'll happen is I'll have a moment where all I listen to is whatever the newest thing I found is, until it gets to a point where it just becomes a part of like the music rotation of whatever I'm listening to.
That's where I'm at right now with Opal and Sky and 100 Gex.
Yeah, I could definitely tell that.
I'm like flip-flopping between both equally. Sometimes I'm like, I'm in the mood for something heavy and hard. And then sometimes I'm like, I'm in the mood for something derpy and happy.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I do too, where I have like playlists for different stuff. Like I have a playlist for like if I want to listen to some like brutal ass metal, and like a playlist if I want to listen to some like dark ass trap music, and then like a playlist if I want to listen to some, you know, like instrumental like electronic stuff.
Yeah
Just all kinds of stuff. But like when it comes to like the spooky music, which is kind of where I've been most of my time lately, my favorite.
It's my favorite.
Just my favorite.
That's just my favorite one right there.
And especially with just me making the music as well. But yeah, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this super rambly 2-part podcast about spooky music. I hope it was somewhat interesting to you, because it was very fun for me. But I am now going to take a break from all this research and doing stuff and let Kirrianna do hers. What are you doing, Kirrianna?
I am finally doing Roanoke Ridge.
Yeah. I
keep saying Roanoke Ridge. Roanoke Ridge is the reference to the lost colony of Roanoke in Red Dead Redemption.
Okay.
Roanoke Ridge is only in Red Dead Redemption.
Oh.
It's just Roanoke.
It's just Roanoke?
And I played so much Red Dead Redemption that the two became conflated in my head. And as I was doing research today, I realized that Roanoke Ridge is only a reference to Roanoke in Red Dead Redemption, so I apologize.
Okay.
But yeah.
I'm excited because I came home today from work and she was immediately like, babe, do you know anything about Roanoke? And I was like, I don't think so. Like, I think I might have seen like a title or something from like the Lore Lodge or something maybe. Like I the name sounds familiar, and she's like, I'm so glad you don't know anything about it, because this is going to be a good episode. And I'm like, oh, well, okay then.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. I'm excited.
But yeah, now I get to take a break from doing research and do some other things that I need to do, like such as I have some beats that I have to work on for a friend of mine who's making an album. He goes by the name of Van Demand, Vann Demand, and I'm going to be having a couple of beats on his album, which I'm very excited about, because it's the first time anyone will actually be like using my beats like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's going to be by the third fastest rapper in Colorado, apparently.
So, yeah, from what I understand, yes. But yeah, he's awesome. And then I also have to finally like get back into doing my writing and stuff so I can record some more ASMRs so I can start getting them posted on YouTube. Speaking of which, we forgot to do this last episode. We have socials, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
We have socials. I am Freaky Phinn on YouTube and in Twitter. And you are Kawaii Kirrianna on Twitter, correct?
Yeah, I didn't think about how complicated the name Kawaii Kirrianna could be to type out. But yeah, I'm Kawaii Kirrianna on all my socials, and there'll
be a link.
Yeah, I haven't uploaded anything yet, but after I finish the piece I'm working on right now, I'm gonna start organizing and figuring out how like I want to post everything.
Yeah, you have been like having a little bit of fluctuation when it comes to like your artistic like motivation, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But like you have been making it a point to try to get better at certain things, and some of these pieces that you are working on like show that you are definitely like working on improving these things, because I was like, I don't know if your stuff can get much better, but I'm very excited to see where you go.
Yeah, and that's part of why I haven't posted, because, like, I think I'm just going to post older stuff that I still kind of like first.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because I do eventually want to do commissions, but I also just kind of want to get my socials, like, to have some actual content.
Fair enough, yeah.
And then you can, like, see my art journey recently. Because, yeah, lately I've been watching, like, other artists that talk about their process and stuff, and I realized that like I was missing some of my fundamentals that I haven't worked on that are pretty important. And like, you know, I've developed ways to do those things that are passable, like my shading and like perspective and backgrounds and stuff. Like I could do okay, like, you know, nobody would really notice that it's off if they weren't an artist themselves. But it's changing the way my art looks so much that I'm like, well, what do I do now? Because I had this cohesive style of like all my stuff looks like this, which is what I've been working on for so long, but now it doesn't anymore. It's just like, yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, and then I'm also, for this episode, I'm not gonna do it for any other episode, but for this episode, I'm also gonna have my beat channel in the links in the descriptions as well. If you are interested in listening to some like dark trap, spooky like rap beats and stuff like that, I'm gonna have that. And also, again, we don't say this all the time, but we've said it before. Special thanks to Lazy Enju.
Yes, thank you, Enju.
I did the intro and outro beats, and then he has the laugh that you hear. He sent me like a clip of him doing some like voice acting in character, and he has this really cool like manic laugh that I was like, bro, can I use this?
Oh, it punctuates our intro and outro so well too.
It does. So yeah, thank you for watching, or for listening, not watching. There's nothing to watch here. Thank you for watching our picture on YouTube.
Thank you for looking at the thumbnail for a very long time.
But thank you for listening to this 2-part, very long, drawn-out episode on horror and music. And we hope to see you again in the next episode where we talk about Roanoke. This is actually going to be done on time. We're going to be uploading this on time. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we're actually going to start backlogging now.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully we're going to be posting every Thursday, but if not, every 2 weeks you're going to get a new episode. We're going to promise you that. So see you guys later.